Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. On behalf of ISKCON Ministry of Education, let me start this panel discussion, and the theme will be on Srila Prabhupada's books, and you are in leadership positions. Kamalochan Prabhu, Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, you are temple president of ISKCON Mira Road, and I have noticed that you have a technical background. You had been into merchant navy, and then you moved into Krishna consciousness, and you have been spearheading the movement in Mira Road, and Mira Road has a wonderful temple, and very recently we visited Mira Road, and your Gaur Nita is, particularly the Utsav Vigrah Gaur Nita, is mind-blowing, the way they dance. Hare Krishna. So obviously, like a lot of work regarding book distribution as well as regarding Srila Prabhupada's books happens in your temple. So from that point of view, we are we will have a wonderful discussion together. And Mangal Raj Prabhu, you are the Yatra leader of Balaram Desh or Bahrain, and I have heard your Bhagavatam class on Canto 3, and I have noticed the concern that you have regarding devotees as well as newcomers, and the way to inspire them.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. We have Achyut Giridhari Das. Prabhuji, if you could... Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Dhanur Pranam Prabhuji. I am from Bahrain, Balram Desh only.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So nice. Nice to have you here with us. And then Anirudh Prabhu from Temple President of ISKCON Melbourne, he is supposed to join. He is currently driving. He will join in 15 minutes time. But before that, we will start the event. And this particular discussion on books of Srila Prabhupada, not only about ourselves, but about the others that we will go through. Hare Krishna. So I will have a few questions, and then there will be discussions. The first question would be related to you. So Srila Prabhupada books, how has Srila Prabhupada books inspired you in your life? Kamalochan Prabhu.
Actually, I got in touch with Srila Prabhupada books first. And actually, when I found Srila Prabhupada books, they are actually not Srila Prabhupada books, they're actually Shastras. Somehow, these days, I've been meditating on the terminology is what we use. We say Srila Prabhupada books, that means the books originated from him. But actually, he is representing a legacy of a literature which is eternal. Now, what has happened is, from the Western point of view, you have one Messiah writing a book, and that becomes the final. But here, instead of saying Srila Prabhupada books, the first thing which I found when I read the Prabhupada books were actually, they are not Prabhupada books, it is Krishna's books. And Prabhupada is actually giving an explanation and a commentary on the Krishna's books. So he's representing not only the spiritual master, Supreme Lord, but the book contains the entire wagon of the Guru Parampara, the previous Acharyas. Interestingly, when I read Prabhupada's books, Bhagavad Gita, that is commentary to Bhagavad Gita, I found that Srila Prabhupada is making Sri Ramanuja's commentary simplified so that 21st generation audience can actually understand it. So that is how I was very much impressed. Before reading Bhagavad Gita, I read the complete works of Vivekananda, entire. Before that, the autobiography of a yogi, and many such things. but they had an origin within themselves. It means they are not representing a legacy. They are not representing the entire volume of literatures, right from the dawn of creation. But the first thing which I felt when I read Prabhupada's books were actually, they are not Prabhupada's books. It is, he is representing a huge legacy behind them. He's connecting me, I felt he's connecting me to a wide range of Vaishnava scholars and a wide, and Supreme Lord himself. So that is the speciality which I felt when I read the Bhagavad Gita for the very first time. This is what I can say.
Hare Krishna. This is very inspiring. Krishna's books and the legacy and connection with the Vaishnavas and the Supreme Lord. So, Mangalraj Prabhu, how did you find this particular journey with Srila Prabhupada's books?
Haribol Prabhuji. So, Prabhu, so I joined the ISKCON here when I came to Balram Desh. So prior to that, I was in Haridwar. I was working in Haridwar. My parents were also there. So I am from Haridwar. So my schooling was there. Then I started working over there. And then from there, then I came to Gulf. The first 3 years I was in Abu Dhabi, and then I also had this. So when Prabhuji mentioned that, I also recall that I did, and I was very much inspired by an autobiography of a yogi. And I could relate to some of the places which are mentioned there from Haridwar and the higher hills. And, similarly, I had read so many books on the subject. I did master's in philosophy from a Gurukul University, and which is, Arya Samaji, university. So, I did philosophy, and I did study from the perspective of Advaita. So that is where, I had that learning and all that. So that was the background. And then I came to Abu Dhabi. There were no temple, and I started associating with the other, so many groups. And then I would attend and all that. Then I came over to Bahrain, and I always felt that something is missing, something is there, which I could not realize. And then I came to ISKCON and Balram Desh, and obviously anybody, whenever it comes into the ISKCON, so the two programs, the Bhagavad Gita and the Bhagavatam classes, so the deity darshan, that is very special. Everyone knows that the way we serve our deities. So anybody who comes in new, so they get attracted. And that's a special mercy we have from Srila Prabhupada, the way Prabhupada has designed, and our Vartman Guruvrind, the way they guide us. And for us, of course, it is not the Indian standards, the way the temple standards. We are part-time devotees here. So Kamalochan Prabhuji knows very well that how the Balram Desh, we struggle in our sadhana. So, however, so coming here, when we hear when I started hearing Bhagavad Gita from Srila Prabhupada, so and the Bhagavatam class in the morning, and that is where I could immediately, the one is Prabhupada is very, very direct, and when if you are really looking for it, and when Prabhupada says those words, that the idiots and stupid, and I felt always, yes, this is for me. This is what I was not able to understand. And, this clarity, that this realization of Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagwan, so that, and then so many times Prabhupada explains Sukham Kartum Avyayam, and this bhakti is devotional service. So, and then, once you serve, you automatically, it's only by Guru and Krishna's mercy, then the knowledge is something which it will manifest. So I would say that is how, whatever little understanding I have about the great inspiration of Srila Prabhupada. And then again, the turning point in our this yatra has been then at the time that we started connected to our Mayapur Institute. Then we did Bhakti Shastri course. And now we ourselves here in Balram Desh, we have been examination center. So we have a Shastric Study Center, and we are certified examination center. So all this has been the evolving. That is how we in Balram Desh evolved. And I personally keep on getting inspired by Srila Prabhupada books. Hare Krishna. Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. So nice. If I could ask Achyut Giridhar Prabhu to say how this Srila Prabhupada's books have inspired you in your life.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandot Pranam. Prabhuji, I thought I just joined to listen from all of you. But if you asked, I can just share that I joined ISKCON due to Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita only. Because when I came first time here in Bahrain, in Balram Desh temple, so the Bhagavad Gita recitation was going on. And at that time, around 15 years before, I was not able to read the Sanskrit. But that time I was reading the Anuvad, means translation of Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita. And that inspired me a lot. And if you ask me what I like in ISKCON most, so I will not say prasadam, I will say the philosophy, because my nature was like this one. And whenever I read Prabhupada books, and I inspired a lot. And this is my realization, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So with this realization, there is obviously like, if the realization comes in leadership, then the realization even gets like it's almost like an osmosis effect. So how did you take this realization to inspire, say, the devotees?
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you for this question. So when I found that this reading of Srila Prabhupada books, purports and all is connecting so much, then it inspired me to start Hindi Bhagavatam group here in Bahrain, where our senior devotees have started, were preaching, and still we are continuing. As well as I love to give classes on Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam in ISKCON, as well as whenever I get chance, so I go to other societies also. And I feel always motivated that this knowledge should be distributed. And I believe that by this knowledge only, we can, by this conviction, I can make more people to convince in the same way that Krishna is the supreme, and what is the position of Krishna, as well as what is our goal of life, what is our situation. So all these, which is the basics, that can be very easily communicated to any utsuk and inquisitive person, if he is inquisitive, by this message, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. So wonderful preaching application that
yes,
we find from your inspiration. Yes, Mangal Ras Prabhu, because Bahrain comes in the picture. So let us hear about Bahrain.
Very well, Prabhuji. So Prabhu, yeah, it's not me alone. So here, so all the devotees here, when, we did Bhakti Shastri, so naturally that I already mentioned, then we immediately felt, and we saw the change in our preaching, and we saw that how, that knowledge helped us, and each one of us tries. So here, any service in the temple, but including the preaching service, so we divide among ourselves, and all of us, we endeavor to keep on. So even for the Prabhupada book reading, so we try to keep on making the program. So if it's not me alone, in fact, someone from among the devotees will take up that. And that's how then we all get involved, and we keep on trying the new things. So like the way we are now trying, we have already done Shastri, Bhakti Shastri in many languages. We have Bhakti Shastri in Tamil, Malayalam, Hindi, so Telugu Bhakti Shastri also. So we can't keep on taking support from Mayapur basically, or from any of the Shastra centers, Plastic Study centers. And other than that, on the books, so we ourselves don't have that big capabilities. However, we still, we are within the GCC, we have that advantage that we have a temple. And so initially we used to get books from whenever the devotees will travel. So we always had limitation, and we used to find out that it is difficult to. Now slowly when times are changing, that gradually then we keep on make an effort to make the changes. And we recently we could able to import basically through cargo clearance books. More than 10,000 books we have been able to get into Bahrain. So, it's the congregation not that very big. So our last year, or I would say that this year we have sold 5,000 only. So if you see Indian numbers, it's very small. But for us, it's 5,000, and we already have a stock of 14,000 books. So which that is what is the inspiration for us, that we have to see that somehow now we have 14,000, we have to achieve this. So we try many programs to for the book distribution, and that's how I put it. That basically any one of us takes it up, anyone takes the initiative, we all get together, and we have done many things in the past, and by Krishna's mercy, it's always challenging, but ultimately we see there is a success.
This is wonderful, because all round efforts you are taking, both on the shastric education point of view, as well as arranging the resources, that is the books, and importing them to your country. Hare Krishna. Kamalochan Prabhu, you have a wonderful temple and wonderful setup for preaching, and I have known few things about your temple, but I would like to hear from you.
It is basically the culture what you set up. When we were hearing in Bahrain, and the Prabhuji went first time to the temple there, he heard the devotees chanting Bhagavad Gita verses. So now, when you just imagine of a Gurukul or something spiritual, what comes to your mind? It is there are few people sitting and reading. That's what comes to mind. So now, what has happened is, over a period of time, or I don't know what is the reason, the focus on the study, the mantra called learn and teach, has practically lost. Because of it is not very glamorous. Learning and teaching is not a glamorous thing. It requires a lot of sattva. The most difficult thing is to learn and teach. To have a big festival, to have Kirtan Mela, because it's glamorous. You can make your presence felt, and there's something is happening, you can see, you can perceive. You go to get some funds, you got some 10,000 rupees, you can perceive certain things. But you study for 1 hour, what you perceive? There's nothing gross to which you can measure. So it's the most difficult thing. Learn and teach is the most difficult thing. And that is why it is the most neglected thing also. So how to bring about a change in the culture is by setting up a culture. So it was actually a cultural shock for me when I joined ISKCON, because the mood was not to learn and teach. The mood was, if you're studying, if you're reading, that means you're a Jnani. Yeah. If you're doing some seva, if you're doing here and there, then running around there and do something very active, then you're a Bhakta, you're a devotee. So that was the definition. And I'm not saying just out of the blue, it's a fact. It was a fact. 1997, when I joined ISKCON, that was a fact. So it was going on in my mind that I need to change the culture now. It's not going to happen just by myself reading or just organizing one course or something like that. It is not going to happen. Because if you take a course, do something with syllabus, question, answers and all. They say, "Arey, hum to ye sab chhod ke aaye. We gave up everything, all these things, and you are making us do all these things or what? Huh? What is his examination and all? Do you think Krishna cares for his examinations? What marks are going to? Prabhupada said to give up everything and just do bhakti." And these are the words. I'm just repeating, not one person saying it. The whole, practically the whole atmosphere was like that. So it was a great struggle. The first breakthrough I got was when in 2002, after 5 years, I got a call from Juhu Temple, the Srila Prabhu, who asked me to teach Bhakti Shastri. Then I told, I don't have a certificate of Bhakti Shastri. So then he told, come over, we have a meeting. So there was a meeting, then I was a teacher as well as a student. That was the first course. So then what happened was, there was a curiosity that Meera Road at that time was a jhopadi. Jhopadi means, it's a hut compared to Juhu. Now there are two teachers, myself and Vanamani Maharaj now. We both used to go every Sunday and all the congregations to see what these two brahmacharis, these new people, were going to Juhu, Juhu temple. What are they doing there? And practically in Juhu temple, we were like treated like big vidwans. And everybody was appreciating. So that is the time, a few of them personally inquired to me, yeah, what do you do there? So then I told, see, if you don't study what Srila Prabhupada has written, whom did Srila Prabhupada write the books for? Whom did he write it for? So then what happened? Just for a trial, 10 devotees from Meera Road, they came to attend the Bhakti Shastri in Juhu, just to see what we are doing. So after 2 sessions, they told, we'll do Bhakti Shastri in Meera Road also. So now that is the time, there's a total change in the culture, because something new happens in any place, people want to know what's happening. But it took 5 years. 5 years of tolerance and expectation. Someday, one day this will happen. Because it requires, like for example, any parent, the father and mother, initial days the child does a lot of nakra in trying to read and study. He'll do everything except studying. I'm experiencing myself. My mother used to beat me like anything, but still somehow when she's 7, I have to close the book, that's all, over. But over a period of time, her patience and her perseverance, what happens? There's a culture that we develop it in ourselves, that we open the book and study by ourselves and then somehow crack the exam and do something. So it takes a great level of patience amongst the leaders to create a culture of study. Now, this culture of study became so prominent in Meera Road after 2002-2003 that practically, if I'm giving Bhagavatam class or anybody would give Bhagavatam class rather, I would see people bringing notebook and pen. The same people who said that, hey, what is all this thing? What is question? And whenever, every Thursday we used to have Prabhupada's class, then at that time projector was very new, technology was very new. Somehow I ran some Lakshmi to do the projector, and then Prabhupada's class is going on, and then we would have the projector, the transcription, and there was a Hindi translation also going on. And then at the end of Prabhupada's class, I used to give them 10 questions to answer from the same class. That became a super hit program. Practically, Prabhupada's class means everybody would come and sleep. Everybody would doze off. I don't know how many of you observed this. Tape is going on, doze off. So once this started, the attendance increased. And somebody told Prabhupada, after Bhagavatam class of Prabhupada, we should have prasadam. Okay, no, that became the program. Of course, now that thing is lost because it becomes too big. When it becomes too big, good things are lost actually. When you have many things, the good things are not perceived. So that's how I still remember those days. But it went on for 3 to 4 years when I was the temple commander kind of thing, and my vice president kind of thing. And yeah, practically in regular classes, only 25-30 used to come, Bhagavatam class. But now proper class increased, attendance increased. Just because they would get some questions and would answer. So there is a natural spark in everyone to learn, but it takes time to kindle that. Like a child in first, second, third, till sixth standard or seventh standard or so, the mother is, I don't know how many of you know, South Indian mothers are very dangerous. They just beat the boy like black and blue so that they study. And automatically, the boy after, when it comes to 10th standard or so, it becomes very serious automatically. But those initial years, you need a lot of patience. In any yatra, you require a lot of patience to create the culture. Of course, later on, we have many Bhagavad Kathakars who came from our temple, many teachers who came from our temple. Practically, it has become a culture. That is how we even built the temple, because many people got connected to courses and Bhagavad Kathas. I still remember, like, even the house programs, this culture started, not just 1 hour lecture. In the house program, the culture of taking a words, making it memorize. If you don't memorize, next time you're not going to attend the class. That kind of a classroom kind of culture started. Of course, still it is existing in some places. Because I got busy with the temple construction, I did not really pursue with the entire thing. This is how it all started, and what I would say.
Hare Krishna. So this change of culture from a jnani to actually like a shastra, serious shastric devotees. So that's like very, very inspiring.
No, the perception that studying scripture is jnana, that has to change. Studying scripture is not jnana yoga, it is bhakti. It is a biggest virus which is haunting and destroying many devotees. They think study of scripture is jnana yoga. It is not. It is bhakti. It is pure devotional service. Prabhupada's writing purports to the commentary. Is it jnana yoga? No. It is bhakti. Sadharma pracha is one of the aspects of the 64 principles of bhakti, pure devotional service. Sorry to interrupt you. I was trying to correct it. Yeah.
Wonderful. I mean, it's. I mean, to really like have this particular idea not only within oneself but also to instill in others that Swadhyaya is bhakti. That itself is a very, very big time understanding of what Srila Prabhupada's mood and mission is supposed to be. Hare Krishna. Let us welcome Anirudh Prabhu. He's temple president of Melbourne, Australia, and Anirudh Prabhu is a big inspiration for us because he does very, very unique way of taking shastric education. And Anirudh Prabhu, we had been discussing about 2 things. First is, how did books, Srila Prabhupada's books and these scriptural books inspire you, and how you could inspire others to take up reading as well as understanding of Srila Prabhupada's books.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. That's a good question. I wasn't really... I was attracted to the chanting of Hare Krishna and Prasada more than I was to studying books. And when I first started reading Prabhupada's books, my head would swim because, Sanskrit names like Bhagavan, Paramatma, Brahman, it all just bewildered me. I couldn't understand it, to be honest. And it wasn't until, Prabhupada's books really only made sense to me when I would go to a class. And, as a very young devotee, then the senior devotees would explain the Bhagavad Gita verses and the Bhagavatam verses. So it made sense. So it wasn't really until I had the association of the devotees, I joined the temple effectively, that the philosophy and the books themselves made sense. And it wasn't until I was a devotee for a couple of years until I had actually read a book from cover to cover. And that was Perfect Questions, Perfect Answers. And that really solidified my understanding of Prabhupada's philosophy and Prabhupada's broad presentation. And it wasn't until I think what happened in Melbourne in the mid-80s, we would have tests. We would be given sections of the Krishna book to read, and we'd have an exam, we'd have an assessment. This is in mid-80s. So by that time, I'd been a devotee, for 6 or 7 years. And so after having a lot more exposure to Prabhupada's teachings, then I was very, very happy to study and to be tested. And then things really came together for me when I attended the VIHE in 1989, right? And I think that was the first semester, not the first semester, the second semester of the VIHE. And that was in Kartik in 1989. And that had a huge impact on me. And I became the temple president in 1990. And was probably maybe a decade even or so after that, we established, with the encouragement of Bhujan Prabhu and other senior devotees, we started teaching the Bhakti Shastri in Melbourne. And so we now have in Melbourne Bhakti Shastri, Bhakti Vaibhav, Bhakti Vedanta, and Bhakti Sarvabhauma streams. And in the Bhakti Shastri, we might have 4 streams of Bhakti Shastri courses running at any one time. And I think, I don't think it's terribly unique what we're doing, but what we've done is, because we have a large householder community, we only have one Shastri class usually, sometimes 2 a week. It takes 2 or 3 years for an individual to complete a Bhakti Shastri course, right? And then more years further on from that to complete the Bhakti Vaibhav and so on. The Bhakti Sarvabhauma group that's currently running at the moment, that's a group of devotees who have been studying Srila Prabhupada's books together and with the same teacher for at least 15 years and perhaps longer, right? When you think about it, they've gone systematically through the Bhagavad Gita, Nectar of Devotion, Nectar of Instruction, Sri Upanishad, which is your basic Bhakti Shastri course. Then they've gone through, the first 3 or 4 cantos of the Bhagavatam to do the Bhakti Vaibhav and so on. So that adds up to many, many years of steady study of Srila Prabhupada's books. And of course, what we've discovered is that then makes a very solid community of devotees because they're philosophically astute, they're committed, they're convinced. They understand the philosophy. Not only do they understand the philosophy, but they put it into practice. And so you get lots of advantages. For example, in our Prabhupada marathon at the end of the year, we have 100. Last year we had 150 book distributors, and that's half a dozen brahmacharis, right, single men, but the rest, 140 or so, is all householders. And so when you're building your community, and of course, a lot of what we do is community development. When you're building your community, education is an essential element of what we do. If you look at the 7 purposes of ISKCON, then you can see that education is, clearly defined in the first purpose statement, in the purpose statements of ISKCON. So there are benefits that accrue to the devotees and to the communities of devotees that make, what's that quotation? Books are the basis. So when your community is focused on studying Srila Prabhupada's books, then not only are you building the individuals, but you're building the team, if you like. And so in that way, you're building your spiritual body page by page. And keep in mind that's quite a bit of administration. And then, you need to have a team of people that keep track of all of your students, of all of the courses they've done, all of the assessments. And we start from the point of taking shelter with the individual devotees. One of the things that we've introduced before we recommend people for initiation, we ensure that they've read the Lilamrita and they have to pass a Lilamrita exam. So, education starts right at the beginning. And we have a joke in Melbourne, the devotees are too big. The devotees in Melbourne are too busy studying. They can't do politics. They're just, and of course they don't because they're quite well trained. So I'd strongly recommend and encourage temple leaders to really take the study of Srila Prabhupada's books seriously, and study them, but also ensure that others study them as well. And of course, that means basically study and then teach. And I don't know how much of you, I don't know how much you've been exposed to the VAHE philosophy, but that, it's learn something and then teach others. That's the philosophy. And that's what Prabhupada did effectively. When you see how Prabhupada established ISKCON and the amount of effort that he put into translating, the Bhagavad Gita, and then gave us the framework within which he wanted us to teach Bhakti Shastri, Bhakti Vaibhav, Bhakti Vedanta, Bhakti Sarvabhauma. Prabhupada wanted us to systematically develop our learning, if you like, both individually and collectively, so that we would have really fixed. There was a point where Prabhupada said, no more, don't, just attract more people, boil down the milk, and, make the people that you've got, make them strong. So I don't know whether that's unique or not. I don't think that is unique. I think that's what everybody should be doing, frankly.
Hare Krishna. So this is an underlying concept running in the minds of leaders. Everyone is not only got inspired by the books of Srila Prabhupada, but also inspiring through these very systematic studies of Srila Prabhupada's books in the form of Bhakti Shastri and the remaining. So all the Shastri courses. I have one interesting question. Srila Prabhupada, when he conceived Bhakti Shastri course, he said that the paperback books, the small and the medium books, will also be part of Bhakti Shastri. Today, we do not have a course on Bhakti Shastri across the world where the paperback books are considered. And Anirudh Prabhu has so nicely said that I started with PQPA. Perfect questions, perfect answers. My question will be, how does these small books help, say, a newcomer or a youth or developer, somebody who wants to know the Shastra but not yet ready for a Bhakti Shastri? Kamal Lochan Prabhu.
When you say newcomer, there are also different levels of newcomers, because they are not a newcomer for this world. They're bringing different sanskaras and different kinds of things from the previous birth also. So it all is very subjective. What is new? Who is newcomer? There should be systematic study of Prabhupada books, but standardization is not going to help, because that is not the Vedic way. Like you have the CBSE board, and you have a villager also studying the same book, and a city-bred boy also studying the same book, and a person is a dull person studying the same book and the same density. It's not going to work. The Vedic system education is that you see the student, you design a syllabus according to the student. That's called teaching. So we need to have these small books, but you cannot. It has to be left to the teacher or the individual temple or the president to see what is the local circumstance and then teach. For example, if you have a temple in a small town, which is more of very traditional values, they are there, pious people are there. If you take that book called Perfect Question but Frank Answers, it's not going to work there. Because they already accept God is there, consciousness is there, and it is there already. For them, what is required is something, recitation of verses, some deeper aspects, something which is pertaining to their life, examples, etc. So if you go to some college in Mumbai, maybe even their students coming from Mumbai, they require this perfect question but frank answers, science of self-revelation, like that. So the Vedic system of education is teacher dependent, not system dependent. But that doesn't mean there's no systematic study. Systematic study is there. At the same time, the teacher has his own or her own ideas and thing to present the entire thing according to the audience. So this is what worked out for our temple, because in our temple we had a huge congregation even before I joined of the diamond merchants. They are Gujarati Patels from Bhavnagar. Now, if you talk to them about some consciousness, the missing link, and all this is not going to work with them. So even when I take the Bhagavad Gita class for them, I had to speak from the Bhagavatam. Because Bhagavatam is there in their blood right from their birth. So it all depends on the audience what you have, and the teachers' own relishment and maturity and understanding, all these things. That is what is my point of view.
Hare Krishna. What is your experience in Bahrain, Mangal Ras Prabhu?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. So, Prabhu, so as Prabhu said, Kamalochan Prabhu said that it's different, but of course, those small books, like we have practically, for our labor camps, we do start whenever we start with a new Bhakti Vriksha, and sometimes some of the cases, some of the Bhakti Vrikshas, we promoted starting with a smaller book, and it is for the labor, they are not very well educated. However, by going through one book, when they read one, if they complete one small book, they feel that happiness of that they have completed and they understood, and then we promote them to speak on that. So we motivate the preacher, motivates them to speak on that subject, whatever they have understood. And we have seen that those, some of them have come up to the level of, and I'm talking about, these are, some of them are uneducated to the extent that they can't read a sentence in Hindi also in one book. So even to that, they will join alphabet by alphabet, and that's how they used to read in the beginning. And now, with their own effort, so straight away, if they would have been, Bhagavad Gita was very difficult for them. They started with a smaller book, and now they are studying Bhagavad Gita. So, so as Prabhu said, it depends. It's different. And for us, I would say also what helps that when we get the preachers from those who are practicing devotees, like as I mentioned, the Kamalochan Prabhuji has also come over here. So when these devotees come over here, and when they speak, it inspires. So if the subject is, we have seen a practical example of one of the preacher, the classes, so it was on Kunti prayers. And these are so many people, so many devotees got inspired and they bought Kunti prayers, and everyone was reading that. That's how I would say that it's not that those Prabhupada books are very helpful, those small books, and it depends. It depends. So there are many value that, and for us, we see that our sale of Bhagavad Gita as well as Prabhupada's smaller books are at similar level, actually.
Hare Krishna. Very nice. Yeah. So labor class plus so that they can also take to this Shastric study, the small books come in very handy for you. Yes. And obviously, like Kamalochan Prabhu said, for different communities, the whole thing has to be so designed so that it becomes very relevant for them. Anirudh Prabhu, how do you, you inspired yourself with a small book, and how do you take, but on the other hand, you have taken your community, devotee community to very, very high levels of Sarvabhauma. So how do you take small books in the course of your inspiration?
That's a good question. The Bhakti Vriksha programs are often a place where there'll be a systematic study of a book like The Science of Self-Realization and other smaller books. And so the study of the smaller books are pretty much a precursor to Bhakti Shastri. We don't have a developed curriculum that encompasses all of the smaller books, and there are newer compilations coming out even now. I often go and have a look at sometimes go and have a look at the books. What books are being sold on the book table at the temple and I discover something new that I'd never seen before. And I appreciate, was it Kamala Lochan, I think, mentioned that it's very often individually, it need to be, we need to deal with an individual at a level at which they're capable of absorbing, the philosophy, absorbing information. And so therefore, in the developmental stage of an individual, when we're cultivating people, we need to consider or be aware of their level of exposure to the concepts, the philosophy, the language also. Especially because I'm preaching in Australia, and we have a large Indian congregation, but we also are interacting with locals. Like me, if I'm talking to somebody who's come from India, I don't have to explain Aarti, Puja, Kirtan, Dhyan, Gyan. I don't need to explain any of those things. They automatically already know it. But if I use that kind of vocabulary with a complete stranger, it's very challenging for them. And so that's why, and it's very interesting that Prabhupada envisaged these, like perfect questions, perfect answers, yes, but Easy Journey to Other Planets, for example, which Prabhupada wrote in the 1950s. But it was very much a book designed to be marketable to a non-Indian audience. So Prabhupada had this, he had this concept in mind, a very broad perspective. And so when we're presenting or engaging with somebody who's a novice, right, then that's where these books, and even more contemporary books like Higher Taste, Coming Back, Chant and Be Happy, in the context of the Australian situation, those books are appropriate because they're introductory. And so in many respects, the way I see it is they can be used. They're tools that can be used, or they're books that can be used to introduce Krishna consciousness to new people. And even the Bhagavad Gita, you can teach the Bhagavad Gita at the Bhakti Shastri level, but you can also teach the Bhagavad Gita at a more basic level where you're introducing themes and broader concepts of bhakti, and then bhakti in the context or bhakti in relationship to karma and bhakti in relationship to jnana. And so even the Bhagavad Gita can be taught at a very simple level, and then a more complicated, at a more detailed and more systematic level, like we do in the Bhakti Shastri. So I think in ISKCON, at our current stage of development, not all temples have, Bhakti Shastri, they haven't got that systematic education at those levels that Prabhupada envisaged. But before that, we actually need to think about what we might call, introductory, or I think at the VIHE they have a program called Bhakti Sadachar, right? And so, that's where more introductory literature can be introduced for the benefit of the students and at the level at which the students are situated. Keeping that in mind, that's very important.
Hare Krishna. So when we are hearing about introducing the Shastras, and all along you have been driving that aspect, you introduced Shastra in the community. So when introducing is thought of, then we can always think of children as well. How do you take children's education in your community? So
You're asking me? Ask somebody else.
Let me ask Mangal Ras Prabhu.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. So, yes. So for us, we do understand this importance. It's easier if we get the children connected to us, the parents, we automatically get. So we, for here in Bahrain, we have a Friday school. So on the Friday, we have a children's school, which is named as a Madhav Garden. So Friday is a holiday here in Bahrain. So that is our weekend. And so on that day, we have a Madhav Garden Children's School. It is the very good course taken, inspired by Harve Surmila Mataji, and she came over here to train our teachers, and we keep on getting her here. So this school on Friday, it's a mix of, so we make the teachers, basically the teachers who are there from our congregation, all of them, they work on the basis that with a lot of joy, the children learn Shastras, they learn the Shloka recitation, and with them, so we see that how children in majority of the programs now we are going through this Janmashtami Mahotsav. We started from Jhulan Yatra. So for us, it's not it's only because all our other days working, and we don't have any permanent anybody on the temple visa, if I have to say, because we are all expatriates only, the Indians and Bangladeshi and Nepali. So only these communities are here who are connected to the temple, and we all are working. So we don't have any permanent employee in the temple. So generally, we divide our programs. So different congregation members are coming on the different weekdays. However, during these festival times, we have all 7 days program, and on every day there is a children program. So there's a drama. So we have a mix-up of the class and the drama. There has to be a class and a drama, and this works very well. So to answer you that we of course focus on the children education. For us also, it is also important because our children here, the congregation devotee children, generally stay with us up to the class 12th. After that, for their college, they go to India or West or wherever. So it is the anxiety of the parents also, and we see, and the society also values that the children who are groomed in ISKCON, and they are, they do well in their studies, as well as they do well in their life by managing the life properly. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So that is very interesting that you have Friday programs for children. I know Mira Road has an extensive children's program, because I am a classmate of Bhagwati Kripa Mataji. So Kamal Lochan Prabhu, and she keeps saying that you are an inspiration for her. You please regarding, because when inspiration is the word, then we need to inspire souls from the very beginning of their life. So how do you take it, and how have you been able to inspire children's education?
Okay, I'll start with one thing which I heard when somebody asked Srila Prabhupada, why are so young people in your temple? Many young people are coming to your temple. Generally, temple means it's meant for old people. Then Srila Prabhupada, very in a witty way, he asked the question, when you go to a school or a college, whom do you find? Do you find young people or old people? So then he told young people. Why? Then he replied, because in the school and colleges they study, and youth is the time when they study, the time for study. Srila Prabhupada told, you cannot teach new tricks to an old dog. So the time to study is from the age of 6 or 7, and that's the concept of Gurukul. So now, at least the weekly program in Friday in Bahrain or Sunday schools in different parts of the world, that's a beginning, but that's not the solution. That's a beginning. That's not a solution. The solution is to have our own school at 2 levels. One is you have those the secular syllabus, along that you have your syllabus, and they try to go ahead and then try to crack their examinations and get some jobs. Other one is you have your own syllabus, which is totally Vedic syllabus, directly from the Veda, the Bhagavatam. So that is the area where we have to focus. Now it's time that we have to focus in this area. The reason is we are just increasing the congregation left, right, center, initiating parents. But the most important for every initiated parent is their child. And what ISKCON has got to offer to their children? It's a big problem. Once in one of the meetings when we were talking about initiations, I told, till you start a school, our own school, don't initiate. Because once you initiate the parents, the child has to follow co-regulated principles, especially eating no onion, no garlic. And then there is you are not giving a school to the child, that environment to the child goes to some other school where it is demoniac. The situation that the whole school, the whole college, it's like demoniac. Now the child is confused. What to do? Child is totally confused. What to do now? So actually that was my goal. I joined ISKCON so that I can start a Gurukul, but somehow I landed in building temples. I'm just building a temple here, 2 temples here. But I'm just praying to Krishna, one day give me an opportunity where I can completely focus all my attention, all my resources, energy, wherever we get, to start a school, the educational system, where it is totally focused on bringing up the wholesome personality, more the spiritual and material aspect of it. So what is being started in Meera Road as nice and Narasimha Eye Institute of Children's Education, that's nice. The institute is known as Narasimha Institute of Children's Education, that's nice. So it was started in 1999, and it's we are now 50 teachers doing wonderful job, but that is only a beginning. It's only a beginning. I'm 52 now. I don't know how many active years I have in my life, maybe 10, 12, maybe 15 years or so. So I would like to, in the last 10 years of my life, dedicate completely to this setting up of education, of giving education at the right age where they are willing to receive education. The right age to receive education is 6 and 7. That is the time when the Uparayana is done and child is sent to the Gurukul. So that is the goal of at least of my life, at least to one institute where the parents would long to have their children in a particular school, like they're wanting their children to get into these convent schools, paying heavy donations. They have a standard setup, standard teachers, where we give education to those who are willing to receive education, the time to receive education. So that's my goal. Let's see what happens. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, this is very interesting that you have a goal to see that children's education also takes shape beyond this concept of nice that you have. Anirudh Prabhu, we would like to hear about from you regarding children's education in your community.
Children's education, yeah. Well, we discovered in the 90s that if you've got the children, you've got the parents. And the Indian diaspora outside of India are looking for education for their children, which has a cultural and a spiritual focus. So we discovered if we provided Bhagavad Gita or, shloka classes or whatever, Ramayana, the parents would be attracted to the temple so that their children could be exposed to some of the values that they learnt when they were children living in India. Huh? And so, and then what happens is, because the children are being enthused and enlivened, they go home and then start preaching to the parents that tell them, we should stop this or stop that or stop the other thing. And so what happens is the children start teaching the parents what they're learning at the temple, they bring it home. So we found that's very effective. And another feature, this is primarily we're focusing the children's education by far is concentrated on the Indian diaspora, the Indian community. And what we find is that basically an Indian family will be mum and dad and two children, pretty much. It's rare to find a family with no kids, and it's rare to find with three children, and those who do have three children will be offset by those who have one, right? So very often in our Bhakti Vrikshas, and we have Bhakti Vriksha programs that have sometimes 30 or 40 or 50 attendees. And so that means, based on that calculation, there's going to be half adults and half kids, right? So one of the critical roles in managing any program really, and in particular Bhakti Vriksha events, is having teachers or facilitators for children. Super important. Wherever we have a Hare Krishna community, you're going to have lots of kids. And in our experience, as many children as you have adults. Of course, they'll be at various stages. So we've got groups of children where there's 30, 40, or even 50 students. And these are Prabhuji mentioned, Mangalaras mentioned Fridays. Well, we do all of ours on Saturdays. The children's programs all running on Saturdays. And so we probably have 200, 300 kids in a, it's streamed by age. And so we have 6 or 7 streams of education, going up to your high school students. and you know, that's an interesting phenomena in ISKCON now is the broad spread of cultural diversity, and also the full spectrum now of generational diversity. So we've got children at 5, children at 7, children at 10, 12, 15, and we've also got adult education for younger, people in their youth, right? And then people in middle age, and now what's happening in Melbourne, interestingly, is we have the parents of our devotees coming from India to live in Australia, and because of the association with their children, they start to chant 16 rounds. They also want to study Prabhupada's books or want to get initiated. More likely, you know, they're at 70s or, you know, late 60s, early 70s, and we need to make allowances for them, because sometimes English, they don't speak very good English. And even they might not be very fluent and literate in their own mother tongue, right? So it's not only children that we've got. In ISKCON, you know, in Melbourne, we're celebrating our 50th anniversary of the opening of the temple next year, and you know, in Australia, I guess ISKCON has been extant for 60 years, but in America, 70 years. And so, or perhaps not that long, but, you know, we're looking at six decades of ISKCON. And so the generational needs of the devotees have expanded. So children, absolutely essential. But what we're noticing is we have to be flexible also to the older generation, our soon-to-be children, students.
So this is very interestingly, like the spread has been so well explained, and we have also discussed in our panel how from say ashram inmates to congregation to youth to different classes of people, including children, and now a new addition of even very, very old people. All of them are under the purview of leadership, and all of them require to be inspired through Srila Prabhupada's books. One last question I will ask each one of you. Any message that you want to convey to the ISKCON community regarding the importance of reading Srila Prabhupada's books? I'll start with Kamal Lochan Prabhu.
Invest time, energy, and money into this most important thing called learn and teach.
Learn and teach. That's very wonderful. Mangal Ras Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhu, we are here to take inspiration from others, and you know that's how I put it. It's, I don't think that we are anyhow can give any message to, because we know that how our overall ISKCON and the ISKCON leaders, how they are focusing on all these points. We are here to follow. And certainly what I can say is that we here in Balram Desh, we really value this, the prominence being given to by your leaders, and you know, one of the points which so both Kamalocha mentioned, you know, how this all helps And the particularly regarding that, that we should have some institution to take care of our children when they go for the college. So even our schools and colleges and etc. I say that this is something we have to contemplate on, and whenever any opportunity comes in, we all have to do our service in that regard. That's what I would say.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Anirudh Prabhu.
It's our family business, I think. If we look at the example of the 6 Goswamis, Nana Shastra Vicharanaika Nipano Sadharma Samstapako, it's and of course if we look at the Shikshastika and if we look at Lord Chaitanya's teachings, the chanting of Hare Krishna needs to be built on a strong philosophical foundation. That's why Srila Prabhupada spent so much. And if we only look at Prabhupada's example, the amount of effort he put into studying the books, but then also teaching from the Bhagavatam, especially instituting the Bhagavatam class. We can see it's if we see the example of the previous acharyas, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, really in many respects, Bhaktivinoda Thakur represents the bija of the modern Chaitanya Vaishnava manifestation of Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan mission. And what did Bhaktivinoda Thakur concentrate on? Translating, publishing, and distributing books. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur just expanded on that. And of course, our A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, our founder Acharya, amplified what had already gone before him. But following in the footsteps and in pursuance of the vision and the mission that was exemplified and first really put into practice by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So if we look at the example of our previous acharyas and if we look at the example of Srila Prabhupada as our prime inspiration, and if we look at our modern day modern acharyas, if you like, which effectively is all of us, if we really take ISKCON seriously and we become a member of ISKCON, a member of Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan movement, then that's our culture. And we what is that? There's that verse in the Bhagavad Gita, Tusyanti cha ramanti cha, right? We'll get our nourishment and our pleasure out of Krishna Katha, right? What's that? Matschita matkata prana bodhayanta parasparam katayatascha mam nityam tusyanti cha ramanti cha. So Krishna mentions in the Bhagavad Gita, this is where we get our sustenance and our enjoyment from Krishna Katha. And of course, the books, as illustrated by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, they're the manifest form of Krishna Katha and of the teachings and the discourses of our tradition, really. elemental, foundational. What is it? Books of the basis. Back to books of the basis. Yeah. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. Thank you for this panel discussion. Thank you for the final understanding that learn and teach individually and collectively to take the family business forward. Hare Krishna.
Hare
With this,
Krishna.
I close the panel. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.